peace, and power. It is tea time, ladies. Where are your teacups?
Hey.
Yes. It's Tea Talk with the Sisterhood. Welcome to Tea Talk with the Sisterhood. We meet every Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. I don't know why I say 2 p.m. because we always go over. But anyway, we're scheduled to meet every Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. to talk about issues that the sisterhood feels are important. And we come together to discuss not only the issue, but we discuss solutions, viable solutions for other sisters. So before we get started, I'd like to pay homage. Are important. Oh my goodness! Hold on. To discuss not only the issue. Hold on, Sister Riziki. Solutions for others. Okay, so my fault. I apologize about that. I had the YouTube video up playing on one end and didn't mute the video. But anyway, before we get started, we would like to pay homage to the ancestors as always. All praises to the ancestors. For we are incarnations of our ancestors and we stand on their shoulders. And what we mean by shoulders is we mean that we stand on their wisdom, their knowledge. So we stand on the shoulder of our ancestors. And this sisters on this panel all understand that not only do we represent our mothers and the females in our families, we also represent females prior to our physical existence, females in the diaspora, and females on the continent. So we stand on the shoulders of the divine line of females who fought for the liberation of our people. So when I call their names, I want the ladies to say Ashe, Yasatiwa,
Ashe,
Queen Nzinga,
Ashe,
Harriet Tubman,
Ashe,
Queen Nancy,
Ashe,
Carlota Lukimi.
Ashe.
Would you all like to call out any other ancestors at this time?
Yes, Martha Jenkins,
Ashe,
and Shirley Lemon.
Ashe,
Ashe,
Q-Teen Pittman,
Ashe,
Letty Davis,
Ashe,
Mariah Dosia Pittman,
Ashe,
Ashe,
Evelina McFadden,
Ashe,
Rose Webb,
Ashe.
Ashe.
I think that's all that I have. Any more?
That's it.
That's it. Okay, so we are in, this is going to be a powerful show. We've been talking about this show for a couple of weeks now. We're going to be talking about child molestation in the Black community. And so this is a powerful show. Sister Riziki and myself have been going back and forth with a young lady online. Sister Riziki is going to introduce her in a few, but she came out, she shared her story about the child molestation that had been running in her family, for years. And she was bold enough to tell her story online. Family members got upset with her, but she still told her story. And just as Sister Riziki said prior to the show, we know that this sister sharing her story is going to wake up a lot of sisters. It's going to motivate a lot of sisters because that's kind of like taboo. We know that child molestation happens in the Black community, but no one wants to talk about it. But wait a minute, let's do the intros. My name is Dr. Oya Ma'at. I am the co-founder and president of Ed Anime Productions, and I have a panel of powerful sisters here with me always every Wednesday. So sisters, go ahead and introduce yourselves to the viewers.
Peace and love, beautiful people. I am your celestial sister and sacred sexpert, Riziki Zafira. Welcome, and thank you all for joining.
Hi, it's peace and love. This is Sister Kaba Nepti Ankh. It's been like 2 months already. But I'm here for the healing of our people. Right. This is a powerful show that Dr. Ma'at has put together today, and we'll discuss. I'm looking forward to the discussion. Black Power family.
All right.
Black Power. So Sister Riziki, I don't want to introduce the guests just yet. I want to get into the hot topics first.
Go on and get it.
All right. So I don't know if everybody knows, but there was a prison uprising that took place in Delaware about a week ago that resulted in the murder of one of the prison guards. And I've been following the story. They haven't been putting it out online. Like I've seen it on the news, like this morning, they talked about it for like 20 seconds and then they took it out of there. But there was a prison uprising in Delaware. And from reading articles online, I've gathered that the inmates rebel because of the conditions of the prisons. Now, some of them are saying that they rebel because of Donald Trump being in office. That may or may not be true, but they did say that they rebelled against the authorities because of the conditions of the prisons. Now, anyone who's been following me know that I've been to prison. Like, that's not a secret. I've experienced that, and I know firsthand how it is in the prisons. And so I wasn't surprised when I heard about the rebellion that took place. In fact, prisoners or inmates rebel a lot. I mean, they're in there poisoning, the food that they give you is horrible. How the conditions of the cells and the facilities aren't fit for a human being. So, when you go to prison, they treat you almost like an animal.
Yeah. And
so prison rebellions are common. I guess this one made the news because the guard was murdered.
Yeah.
But to be honest, when I was inside, I would hear stories about different guards being murdered at different prisons all the time. It just didn't make the news.
Wow.
This one made the news. Why it made the news? I think, I think it made the news because some of the inmates had their loved ones call into like a news station with a bunch of demands. And I believe that that's how the story got out. Had they had not done that, I don't think that it would have made it to the news. So that's the hot topic that I have for this week. Do you ladies know of anything else that transpired over the week?
No, but yeah, but I'm not gonna lie. I want to talk about this prison uprising. Like I haven't been to prison, but I've been to jail. Okay, and but I know it doesn't equate, but I totally agree with the nastiness and the conditions, especially like for people who are nonviolent offenders, like
yes.
Especially in the women's section. Like I've seen guards just purposely ignore women who are on their menstrual. So now they're just sitting there bleeding with no tissue, no pads, and you act like, this isn't a human being, and they can be in jail for a traffic violation or, something that's just real stupid. And then too, like when I looked at a lot of these documentaries and they talk about these prisons across the world and their living conditions, I'm like, well, damn, if I was to go to jail, I'd rather go here.
Yeah.
They're more serious about lowering the percentage of recidivism, meaning that a lot of these prisons actually do care about healing and counseling so that when these people come out of jail, they're positive and productive members of society. But since in America, business, jail or prison is business, they really don't, they look forward to people coming back. And so you have these people in these conditions and you're treating them like animals, and then you let them out in the world and you're removing them from having to be this animal and then trying to be normal again. There's no transition period. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I'm not saying that I am advocating killing guards, but hey, listen, I'm just gonna sip my tea.
My cousin used to always tell me there are always casualties in war. So there's always casualties in war. But
I know our people suffered a lot of casualties. So I mean.
Absolutely. And you know what I think, Riziki? I think that one day we should do a show on incarcerated women or the experience of incarcerated women and really enlighten people on what women who are what women go through. I mean, like I say, I can talk about it from beginning to end. I'm talking about having to turn around and squat in front of an officer and cough naked. I mean, you get what I'm saying? I've had, yes. I mean, strip searching, people just come into your cell, telling you, you have to strip. I mean, stuff like that, so I think that one day, and I actually have a few females that I keep in touch with that are still incarcerated. I send them books. Some of the sisters who come home, like there are a few sisters who came home there in Baltimore City right now. I've connected with them. And, I try to look out for them and help them get on their feet. One sister home, she's home right now, no home monitoring. And I call her up, I send her money, and I try to do what I can to support her. But anyway, I think that one day maybe we should have a show and I can actually have one of the sisters who are inside call in to the show and talk about, you know, what's going down, you know, in there.
I'm with that.
And, yeah, I think we can definitely do that. But anyway, moving right along, we have a powerful show today. Go ahead and introduce our guest. And once you introduce our guest, I would like to add one more thing, and then I'll let her go ahead and get it in.
Absolutely. Again, welcome to Tea Talk with the Sisters. And today, again, we are talking about this issue that's been in our family for centuries, and we're sweeping it under the rug. And I want to introduce this beautiful, 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 brave soul, Alicia Leach. I think I said her name correctly. Again, I saw her tagged in a status that Dr. Mayat had. And when I went to her page and I saw, you know, everything she was posting, and even down to the text messages, I was like, yo, like I applauded her, I commended her, and I'm like, yo, we have to have her on the show, because there's so many women and men, and which will be our part 2 to this series next week. But there's many women and men who have been molested, you know, during their childhood, and this is something that runs into the family. So family, please welcome this strong, brave sister, Alicia Leach, to the show. And again, we are so honored and privileged to have you, sis, and we thank you for sharing your story. And Dr. Mayat, go ahead, and then, you know, we can have her go in.
All right, so the only thing that I wanted to add, and I will be brief because I want to make sure that we allot her a sufficient amount of time to tell her story. I just wanted to add 2 points. One, the majority of children and teen victims, they know the perpetrator, all right? And I read a statistic online that stated, and I think the name of the organization was RAIN, R-A-I-N, RAIN.com. And it said that of sexual abuse cases reported to law enforcement, 93% of the juvenile victims knew the perpetrator, all right? And then they gave a breakdown of the percentage. So 93% of the victims knew who was molested them. 59% were acquaintances, 34% were family members, and 7% were strangers to the victim, all right? Now, I want to also add this. So when we talk about child molestation, it's happening with people that the children know. All right. That's first and foremost. And then secondly, why is it that as a community, when we know, we don't react? And I know you might say, Dr. Mayat, yes, we do. No, we don't. As a collective, we do not react and respond to child molestation. And let me give you an example. R. Kelly. R. Kelly is a known pedophile. People know it. We saw the tape. All right. I remember being in college and the bootleg men were around the way selling the R. Kelly tape. Yeah. Did Dr. Mayat watch the tape? Yes, I did. But you know what? If I would have been offered the tape now at the age of, I'll be 36 tomorrow. But if I was offered the tape now, I probably wouldn't have watched it, because I didn't realize then that I was watching child porn, because it was an underage female on the tape. R. Kelly is a known pedophile, but yet he still travels freely around the country with no fear of retribution and sells out concerts. Okay. And when I bring this up, as a matter of fact, he came to Baltimore. You can Google this. R. Kelly came to Baltimore last year. And I had family members who said, girl, I'm going to the R. Kelly concert. I'm going to see R. Kelly. And I said, you're going to support a known pedophile? And when I said you're going to support a known pedophile, I was told, once I made that statement, they said, well, you can't knock him. He makes great music. And I said, well, I don't care if R. Kelly if he makes great music. He's a known pedophile. He's a known pedophile and should be ostracized from the community. He shouldn't be allowed to come into our communities and still make money. And I'm not saying that we are the only community to support R. Kelly, but right now I'm speaking specifically to Black people, which is my community. So as a community, we should have collectively stood up, censured him, and said, no, we will no longer buy R. Kelly. I don't care what Step in the Name of Love and all. I don't care. I don't care. We should have ostracized R. Kelly and boycotted his albums. And I feel like if you still support this brother, knowing that he is a child molester, in my opinion, you are an enabler. Let me give you another example. Bishop Eddie Long. Bishop Eddie Long, he was known in Atlanta to mess with young altar boys. And I was told that even when the S hit the fan, I want to curse, but I'm trying to remain from using that language. But even when the S hit the fan, he still was allowed to preach, and his pews were still full. So what happened to collectively saying, no, Bishop Eddie Long, you can't preach in our city anymore. Get out. We didn't do that. Some of us have uncles and aunties in the family right now, and we know that they are pedophiles. We know they touched a cousin or a niece or a nephew, but they're still allowed to participate in family gatherings. They're still allowed to watch the nieces and the nephews. So we as a community need to ostracize. And I'm gonna say this, yes, anybody who violates a child should be ostracized, in my opinion, from the community. And I would go deep and say some other stuff. You know, I would say, you know, castrated, ostracized, beat. Anytime you violate a child, you have no right, you have no place in our community. But we don't function like that as Black people. We forgive the pedophiles. They're still in the family. They still come to the concerts, and they still come to the community sellout concerts. So what are we supporting here? What are we really supporting? All right. Now, Sister Raziki, Sister Kaba, Sister Alima, do you guys want to add to what I was saying before we let the Sister Oli Leach get it in?
No, I just want to say from what you said, from what you said here, and we know it to be a truth, what we're doing is making our children vulnerable to 99% of those who would offend them. Vulnerable to that 99%. You see what I'm saying? Because why? Because of everything you just said. Because they're family members, because they're friends, because they're allowed to be around us, and because we become comfortable with these people and then leave them with the children. So the children become 99% vulnerable to those who will down the line, in fact, offend, molest them, or rape them, or sexually violate them. We make these children vulnerable to that, and we got to change that. So that's all I wanted to add, sis.
Well, I just wanted to say, I think religion has a big role in the fact that we are so willing to forgive pedophiles. You know, I just wonder if there's a correlation there, because religion, especially Christianity in specific, it stresses forgiveness and, you know, who are you to judge and all these other silly things. So I think maybe that plays a part in it, why we are so willing to allow pedophiles to stay around us and to support people like R. Kelly, who we obviously know is a pedophile.
Mm-hmm.
I actually agree with you, Sister Alima, on that. You know, I used to question that when people would say, you know, you shouldn't judge, don't judge.
Mm-hmm.
Humans judge human behavior.
That's African culture. It's African culture. What do you think my aunt is? What do you think the scale is? That's judgment.
It's judgment, right?
How can you come to an assessment about someone without judging them? That doesn't mean something negative. That's just what it is. You have to come to a conclusion, and that conclusion is based off your judgment, what you see.
Exactly. I mean, I just kind of feel like only a fool wouldn't judge or assess
exactly
or their environment, or who lives in a world where you don't make judgments. I have to make judgments for my safety and for the safety of my children.
Exactly.
You know, it's the airhead to walk around. I don't judge. You're crazy. I need to judge, you know, my community and judge the people that I'm around so that I can make sure that I protect me, protect my children, protect my family, you know. So we have to make, like you said, sister, we have to make assessments of people.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And so I want to transition now into Sister Alicia's story. And Sis Alicia, I'll ask you first. Would you mind if I got into the text messages first and then your story, or would you kind of like to speak first and then we show the texts?
I guess maybe the text, because
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and this is what really made us reach out to this sister, because when I read it, I was shocked and appalled, and I was just like, I don't understand how we even have. Well, I will say I do understand. I don't agree with it, but I do understand. So can you all see my screen?
Go for it, Rizzy.
yeah.
You can see my screen, Dr. Mayat?
Yes, sis, I can see it.
Okay, so I don't know if if I could try to blow it up, but this is, this text message stream. And so it starts, stop sending me these change messages. We could talk about the real things. Real things, girl, bye. You posted all this garbage about me and our family. That's no real stuff, no respect, a damn shame. I never did anything. Oh snap, anything to you. And I hope, pray, watch over you all the time, 24/7. Good luck with that. I just pray for you, because real rap, at the end of the day, you still my people, and no matter what, I still love you. You know it is the truth. You told your sister I seduced David, as if that is logical. Y'all sleep with each other, and you knew he was touching the children around. Don't act naive like you don't know. I can't watch mine 24/7, but if I know, I would never allow it, and I damn sure would keep the bastard in my house. SMH, don't act like this family is not filthy. You are not innocent. You are just as bad as him. So here, and I'm assuming this is the young lady who's related to this person who's been doing the molesting. So, okay, but FYI, youngster, I never slept with him. I've been raped like the rest of us. So don't hurt, don't hate. We need to be there for each other. That's what family does. Girl, this has been a terrible demon that's been a curse in our families forever, okay? So I've seen you as an adult sleeping with him. So now, if I'm not mistaken, we're talking about incest at this point. But okay,
Breaking
so
up, Rizzy.
okay, I'm breaking up, sorry. But okay, so you knew he was and kept him around. To heal, we got to be honest and call these people out. I refuse to keep secrets. Thank you, Sister Alicia. Thank you. So then this person says, God bless the one for whomever breaks the cycle. It's already been read, wrote, and erased. If you say so, this is Alicia now. Y'all use God to avoid action and responsibility. So this is going back to the other sister saying religion. Now here's, we bringing in religion. Why would you let a known rapist live in the house with you and your children? So again, this member of the family knows what this dude does and still is allowing them around the children. I don't get it. You have to admit that you have a part in that. You gave him access. You are an enabler. Dave, and this is the person defending him now, Dave has his issues also. He too was molested. And when you are a child of God, you learn to forgive. Really? Okay. I'm trying not to get personal because I'm starting to get pissed off.
Keep
but
going.
y'all remember what I was going through when I was reading this stuff. She says, I forgave him as I forgive you, as if Alicia did something wrong. Life is way too short to hold grudges. And sweetie, you are still way, 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 way too young to understand or comprehend. Alicia then says, you are nuts. He probably still molesting people and you telling me to forgive him? I am in no way too young to understand anything. I was molested. I did not let that turn me into a monster. I am almost 30 years old. I know right from wrong. Forgiving and looking past it ain't my style. You let children be raped. You are guilty too. I would never allow such things. Y'all rather forgive than protect children. Shameful. Should I go on? But I'm just saying, like, this message just goes on to bring in, okay, that's why I say God is judge and jury, as if we have no power, and this is me speaking. So you're saying God is judge and jury as if we have no power to stop any of this? So then she says Dave is going through what God has prepared him for, not to bust your bubble. So now you're saying God prepared him to be a molester? Is this what you're saying? but not everything is about you. And where the hell is all of a sudden coming from? From you must need strengthen your crazy bitch meds, just like we all do at times. I'm like, I can't go. I'm sorry. How do I stop my screen? Stop screen sharing.
No,
This goes on, and like I said, I'm feeling myself boil, and I don't want to curse. This is a slick family show. Okay, Sister Alicia, would you care to comment or just go in, sis? Whatever you want to say, the floor is yours.
So that conversation with Ruth has kind of snowballed the recent events, but the history of sexual abuse in my family, and for me personally, it started when I was 6 years old. I had a cousin who was 8 years older than me, grooming me. And when I was 11, he took my virginity. He molested the other kids in my house. His brother was physically abusive. He was left in control of us a lot. So he would be like, I'm going to tell my mom you did X, Y, and Z if you don't perform oral sex on me. I've gotten so many beatings that I was not deserving of, because that was one of his tactics that he used to intimidate me. He would tell me he would go in the room with my sisters if I wouldn't do X, Y, and Z. And I confessed to his mother about that situation when I was 18, and I found out that he had molested my sisters, that he had raped his sister, that it's like you're trying to protect people, but you're not. So from the time I was 18, and when the situation that happened with the text message that you read, I told about that when I was 11, because if you continue to read the text message, it was like, how could you, this is how you confront my accusation, is by saying that I seduced him, that I was fast, hot in the tail, sexualizing an 11-year-old, and then asking me if I enjoyed the sexual encounter. Like, she was just very disrespectful and crazy. Like, it gets worse than what you even read. And to me, it's like your guilt is showing. First, you try to stop me with God. You try to end this conversation with the religious talk, and that didn't work, because that doesn't work on me, because I'm not a religious person, and not in that way, and I don't believe in that. And
Since you want me to finish reading the text messages, I just had to break myself. I felt my energy going up, but it's totally up to you.
I don't really think it's necessary. Like I said, just, you can get the the gist of it. It just, like I said, some of the other things that she said to me in the text message was for me, was like, I don't even care about exposing you, or because even though you're not the one that did it to me, your response to it is disgusting, and you're an enabler. And I have a serious problem with those people too. They might not be number one for me, but they're number two, because you give these people the space and the opportunity to do these things. And I don't want to be that person. I cannot be that person. And that's why I put it, and I'm blasting people, and I'm showing your face big and bold with your name, and I'm pulling your record, and I'm not going to be the person who just sits by. I was older than I was and had raised more children than I have at the time. I would never have an 11-year-old younger relative here and see a grown man pressing up on them and just be like, oh, she fast, whatever. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. And then this generational curse thing. It's like, you made the choice for it to be a curse, because you could have spoke up, said something, stopped David from living in your house, and it didn't have to be a curse. So now you're making me feel like you made a decision that this was something that I had to go through, because you went through it, that this was something that I had to go through.
So question, Alicia, when you say that this was a generational curse, so you were touched. David is your cousin or your uncle?
David is my first cousin.
So he's your first cousin, and then David was touched, right?
They say that my great grandmother allowed David to be touched and all types of stuff. So this goes back, like, now 4 generations, they say.
And
it's crazy.
The first person.
Me and my uncle are close, and my uncle is in his 40s. And when I told him, I just confessed to him in the last year what happened. I never had a conversation with him about it. And he's one of the most righteous men I know. And when I told him what happened in reference to David, he told me that David had touched him when he was an 11-year-old boy. So that means there's at least 30 years of history with this person in particular touching children, and y'all whispering about it. And, oh yeah, you know, David, watch him. Why do y'all say that instead of getting this person from around us? It shouldn't be, oh yeah, watch him. It shouldn't be, oh yeah, look out. You know, keep an eye on David. Why do you have to keep an eye on him? Keep him out of your eyesight. Like, I don't get it. I just don't understand it. And I don't want to be that person. And then when she said to me, I hope you can watch your child 24/7. And that enrages me, because you're acting like this is just something that happened that you didn't know about, that you had no control over, that you couldn't stop, but you knew. I'm sorry for women who are in situations where their children are molested and they know nothing about it. That's hard to deal with, knowing that somebody was around your child and did that to you. But when you know that this person is a child molester and you allow them around your children, you are now accountable. You have blood on your hands. You are guilty. Her own daughter messaged me after I shared those messages and told me that when she was 8 years old, the same person took her virginity and told her that her mother gave her to him. So how am I supposed to respect you? And I really hope that she can get charged with neglect or something in connection with this situation, because she is an enabler. And I have a problem with enablers just as much as I have a problem with child molesters. And I think that that's to me, to speak out is to not be them, and I just don't want to be like them. They allowed a lot of stuff to go on, and people knew about it and whispered about it. You had an incestuous relationship with your brother, and I feel like because of that relationship was warped, everything was warped. Like you did whatever you could do to keep this man around as a romantic interest, even to the extent of allowing him to have contact with your children in that way. And people have these patterns because she was with another man who she married, who performed oral sex on her granddaughter, that she still talked to after they pressed charges on him. She's writing him in prison, and he's molested her granddaughter. These people don't really, I don't know what the psychology is. I don't know what it is. And I know other people that this has happened to, and either you're somebody who keeps it to yourself, you try to live as normally as possible, or you internalize it and you become a monster, or you're somebody like me who's just not with it, advocating, speaking out, and trying to stop it. And I don't know what the difference is between me and those other people that it happened to, but I'm happy that there is a difference. Like, I can never allow anybody to be around me and know that that's what you're doing to kids. And I can never feel comfortable being around somebody and knowing that this person molested me, and this person molested me from the time I was 6 and took my virginity, and I'm going to be around situations where they might be around kids and not say nothing about it. I haven't even been around them in 10 years. I don't go to family events because, like people said, they still accept these people. They still let them come to family events. They still that's my son, that's my brother, I love him, whatever. Like, and like my cousin that took my virginity, when I asked his mother, have you ever confronted your son? She told me yes. And I said, well, what did your son say when you confronted him? And she told me that was between her and her son. So the conversation that she had with her son about what he did to me and him taking my virginity was between her and him. And I feel like if you truly love me and you truly cared about me healing and moving on, I should have been privy to what that conversation consisted of and how it went and how you confronted him and what you said to him. You should be totally transparent with me.
More than that, sister, and I had to intervene with that. More than that, you know what I would have done? I'm not even going to say it on social media. But anyway, not only should she had confronted her son and dealt with him accordingly, he owes you an apology. He owed you. You get what I'm saying? Like
his ass whipped.
That's why I said dealt with him accordingly. But what I'm saying is, I don't understand what was secretive. You get what I'm saying? When she said, "Well,
you apologized she apologized for her son, but never." You know what I'm saying? That's not good enough.
No, it's not good enough. So let me ask you a question.
And Jesus stuff, the forgive and Jesus and no sin is greater than the other. You got me. You must be crazy. Me stealing candy as a child is not the same as you molesting a child.
Let me ask you another question, sis, because you said prior to the show when Sister Raziki asked you if we could ask questions, and you said that nothing was off limits. When you say that you were molested, was it a touch? Or was it actually? Well, I know you said one of them took your virginity, but with the older guy, David, was it a touch? Was it?
David,
yeah.
The situation with David, it was an isolated situation, and it was like in the middle of the night, and I felt him trying to pull himself up on me, and he had underwear, and I kept moving and shifting like I was going to wake up, and he kept, like, every time I would move, and he would tense up, and he kept putting his hands in my underwear, and I felt him trying to put his body on top of me, and I got up and just walked out of the room and walked to my cousin's room and locked the door. The situation with Abaz was years. I mean, from the time I was 6 until I was 16, he groomed me. It started with the touching, the petting, the feeling. It moved into me performing oral sex on him, and it just progressed. It progressed until there was actual intercourse. And like I said, that was the one that was in the house that used the scare tactics that I'll make up a lie on you and you'll get a beating. Like, I'll molest your sisters if you don't do this with me. From the time he was 14, he was this way towards me. So the time that you're a teenager and you start to have real sexual type of feelings towards other people, his inclination was always towards children that were extremely young, even from the time that he was only a teenager himself. And that is something, what is wrong with you?
So with David, you said that was an isolated situation. It was fondling and it was touching, but with him, okay. Now, how do you? Now, let me ask you a question, sis, because Sister Raziki didn't read all of the text messages, but I know at one point the aunt said, well, yeah, you're confused, and she said something about, you like women and you don't like men, and you were like, well, yes, you said at one point I hated men. And so can you just tell us how you feel like that affected you, psychologically and emotionally and physically? Like, how do you think it affected you and your dealings with men? If you could kind of.
Absolutely. Like, it was a fear and a mistrust, because these men who are my family, who should be protecting me, who I should be going to if something like this happens to me, not the people that should be doing this to me, have totally betrayed me and took away something that was important to me. So it was hard for me to be in an intimate situation, but it would be hard for me to even be in a room with a man by myself who I didn't really know well, even if other people were in the house. And it took me a long time. I would see someone who looked kind of like the person that took my virginity, and I would go all the way on the other side of the street. And I'm not saying I don't know the psychology behind why all people are gay or homosexual, whatever. But I know that a lot of the women who I've talked to and dealt with when I lived that lifestyle have been molested. They have. It's just I'm not going to argue about that. I'm not here to talk about what makes you gay, but I know that a lot of
we're not going on that. But the point that I'm trying to make is that
been molested, and I know that a lot of those women have a mistrust and a fear in some type in certain ways with certain things with men. And even like when you get into relationships with men, you still don't get close, you don't trust people. Like certain things that are normal to other people make you like paranoid and weird you out. Like, don't do that in front of me. Like, I don't even like to really see you play with kids too hard. Like, I can't take it. It took a lot of working through and talking about it. Like, now I can talk about it and not cry anymore. So it took a lot to realize that maybe some of my feelings towards men came from the fact that my trust was betrayed and that was broken, especially when I was so young. And now I have a partner who's a man. I have a son, so obviously I've been with men. But I have a partner who I've been open with from the beginning about what's happened to me, and who is very emotionally supportive, who's very open, who's very kind, like, and I've grown in this relationship. I can say that I might have sabotaged a relationship that was a good relationship with a man just because of my past situations, but I've realized it, so it told me to work on things. But it was an issue. I did not. No men. I was not having it.
I'm just like, I don't even know. I'm like speechless. But everything that, and that's why, sis, like, after I went over the text messages and talked to you, and that's what I was saying, like, how are you? You know what I mean? Like, how are you? And we had that conversation about how this affected men. And again, this is why I do the kind of work that I do, because I've been raped. A lot of sisters who have went through my school of tantric training, they've been molested since they were 2. They've been gang raped. They had to through this work, through this journey, was like certain exercises and practices and workings we had to do to build that trust, that healthy outlook on men in general. Because like you said, it can lead to you sabotaging relationships because of something he may say or do, and that triggers you to, go back to that moment. There's a client of mine, a sister who's married. She's been married for quite some time, and she has to mentally leave herself when her and her husband, this is her husband, have sex. And so for the longest, I really had to work with her and just be like, okay, well, sis, what happened to make you want to associate a negative experience with something that's supposed to be so pleasurable and loving? And, and she was molested by her cousin at 3 years old. So people, when I'm reading these text messages with this chick, and she's like, good night, Jesus loves you. And you're talking, and you're even telling her, you and your brother are sick. You think what he did has affected us. I have a right to persecute you and all this other stuff. And again, she's just like, oh, this is what got me. Okay. Your whole family, your mom, your grandma, your aunts, uncles, cousins, etc., still love David in spite of his faults and Miss Holy, please. And I'm just like, are you not understanding and that's the damage that goes on? But this is the woman who had sex with her own brother, so I guess not, right? I mean,
she's a different type of person, obviously.
Sister Alima, would you like to expound on something, sis?
I'm just sitting here listening, and a lot of it sounds familiar, with being hit on by uncles and cousins. And, I dealt with the same thing. And even just recently, just last year in November, one of my cousins said some really weird shit to me. He's always said like little snide comments, but he pretty much like made a pass at me. And then I caught him a few times looking at my body, and like I was just so uncomfortable, and it just brought me back to that place like when I was a kid and when my cousin molested me when I was 6. And it was like, it just took me right back to that. And it's just like, it's so much of that in our family. Like my mom was raped by uncles, and it's just, I don't know what it is in our community with that. And I think like the sister was saying, it lingers on so much because we don't talk about it. It just becomes buried family secrets that kind of, you just sweep it under the rug, and okay, we know that such and such is like that, but we just don't say anything. And it has to become a cycle. We need more like Alicia, who coming out and saying like, this is not cool. This has been going on for generations and generations. Like, who's gonna stop it? Really, I really feel exactly how you feel, sis, and I feel your pain, and I'm sorry that happened to you. I really am, and you as well, Sister Baziki. That happened to you too.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, Sister Kyra.
Yeah, I heard those sisters. I sure hate that, but I just wanted to say that we see that a lot of times when children, a person who was a child that grew up, what I'm saying, to see those around them do specific things, they model that behavior in their own lives. What I'm saying? There's nobody recognizing what influence that this person has had on their past learning experience, and how that past learning experience has shaped their current behaviors, because that's exactly what we're seeing here. She mentioned that predator, David, who I'd like to see locked up, excuse my expression in English. I'd like to see somebody hurt him real good. I mean, I'm just saying, because there are people out here that said these people, they need treatment. I mean, that okay, you're gonna give them some treatment. All right, so you got to give them years and years of treatment. And so how long does it take before they actually stop? Or do they ever stop offending? Do they ever stop doing these things? Because a lot of times when people get into something different and they're getting away from what it is that they were used to, and then they become comfortable in what they are, they normally go right back to the same things that shaped their perception as they were growing up. I mean, it hurts me to hear this, sis, from the sisters, all the sisters, because I was afforded life at growing up where I had a father and a mother who were very protective. My father was very protective, so I was never raped or molested. So it's hard, it's hard for me to say I can experience that, but I can feel everything that you guys are saying because I have family members who in fact were. You know what I'm saying? In fact, there's a little girl who she's 16 now. But 2 years ago, she told my cousin and I, who she went to live with, my cousin tried to rescue her from her uncle, who had been raping her since she was 5 years old. He had been raping her since he first penetrated her at 5. You know what I'm saying? She can't even remember what he was doing before that. Is that my phone? Sorry. Oh, family, I'm sorry. Can you guys hear that? I'm trying to stop it, family.
You good.
I just kind of want to add, and I'm getting emotional. I'm sorry.
I know. I'm trying
like I'm over here going like this, like trying to, clear the tears from my eyes because I speak about this on my Facebook page all the time. I am also a victim of sexual assault. I was sexually assaulted when I was 8 years old. My mother used to work 2 jobs to support our household, and she would send me over to the next door neighbor's house to be watched because our neighbor was married and had like 2 children. Well, the neighbor, her nephew, used to come over to the house. And not only was I sexually assaulted by him, he was 15, and he would bring his friends. So not only was I sexually assaulted by him, I was also sexually assaulted by 2 of his friends. And this was all while my mom was at work trying to support our household. And what that taught me is that as a mother is to be protective. Like with my children, first of all, they can't spend a night. They couldn't grow up and then like spend a night over different people's houses. And secondly, I would always ask them. And I remember Harvey and Isaiah and Brianna, when they were growing up, I used to say to them, did anyone touch you? Like if they went somewhere, it would be, well, did anyone touch you? Did anyone? And later on, I explained to them once they got older why I was that overly protective of them. I explained to them what happened with me, and it wasn't until I was 17 years old that I shared those experiences with my mom. So she had no idea, and I never felt comfortable talking to her about it when I was a child because my mom was one of those mothers. Like if a neighbor came and told on you, she believed the other neighbor, or if someone, like if an adult or like a teacher told her a story, she believed them. So she never made me feel like I could come to her and tell her something and she believed me. So as a mother, that made me say, okay, with my children, I need to hear them out. Like if something goes wrong, I need to not only hear the adult side or the teacher's side, I need to listen to my child. So my mother never made me feel comfortable telling her. And it wasn't until I was 17 that I shared with her what took place. And I can explain how it affected me. I had I had trust issues with men. Even when I was, with a guy and may have had intercourse with a guy, I felt like he was taking something from me, if that makes sense. So even though I may have entered into this intercourse consensually, laying down, I would feel like he was taking something from me, to a point where at one time a brother was like, look, he was like, are you okay? You know what I mean? Like, are you all right? Are you good? It felt like he was taking something from me. And that's how, my experiences, psychologically and emotionally affected me. I remember growing up as a child, my father always told me that when a woman is sexually assaulted, he said 2 things could happen. Either 1, she'll turn out very promiscuous. He said, or 2, she'll be turned off from men and she probably will become a homosexual. And I want to add to what my father said. I believe that those 2 things will happen, but I want to also add a third thing. I believe that if a woman doesn't become a homosexual, or if she doesn't become promiscuous, I believe that she'll develop dysfunctional relationships with men. And I was that woman. I had dysfunctional relationships with men based on that sexual trauma. And I want to recommend a lecture for everyone to watch. Please watch the lecture on sexual trauma in the Black community by Dr. Patricia Newton. She's going to be in Baltimore on February the 21st. And I'm looking forward to meeting that sister. I'm going to be opening up for that sister when she comes to Baltimore. But Dr. Patricia Newton, for years, she's been speaking on sexual trauma in the Black community and the psychological effects of that. I think that's all I wanted to say. Sister,
you said Newton or Newman?
Newton. Her name is Patricia Newton. Dr. Patricia Newton. And I believe that we have Brother Sean P in the building. So Sean P, if you could search for that video for me and post the link in the chat, that would be great. But Dr. Patricia Newton, she has a lecture online. I think it's for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And she's talking about sexual trauma in the Black community. And we have to deal with that.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about nation building and Black nationalism and all of this stuff, but you're trying to build a nation with people who are mentally, emotionally, and physically sick. So we had to do some healing before we can build a nation, in my opinion. We got to do some healing, because it's like, you know, there are a lot of sisters out here who simply don't trust men. And before you get into your presentation, Sister Riziki, I want to say this. I remember, did you all watch the Book of Negroes that aired last year in 2014, the Book of Negroes?
Yep, 3 parts. They had 3 parts to it, huh?
Yes. I actually have the DVD right there.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now. But they had 3 parts to it. And I remember, do you remember when, what was the young sister's name? It was based on the story of Aminata Diallo. I think her name was Aminata. Aminata Diallo.
Yeah.
And Aminata had got captured, and she was on the slave ship.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor tried to touch her. And when he tried to touch her, she stood up, and in her own language, she basically said, "Get off of me before I tell my father." I literally cried when I watched that scene, because I didn't have that. Do you hear what I'm trying to say to you, ladies? I didn't have that. I didn't have that to say, "Oh, this happened to me, I'm going to tell my father." She stood up.
Yep.
She said to that man in her native tongue. And what I'm saying is, we have to be more protective of our children. The fathers need to make their presence known.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
I'm
done, y'all, because I'm going to start crying. I'm done.
I apologize. My phone had some things. You know what's going on with this crazy phone, but this is a heart-touching show. You know, we have to keep in touch with the sister. It's a part of this healing process that we definitely have, that we're going to lay out for everybody, because this is necessary in the community. I hate this. I'm telling y'all, it just hurts my heart to hear this, because my daughter's 13. You know what I'm saying? And just to imagine someone would have touched her at 6, at 5 or at 4. You know what I'm saying? A mother, we go into that protective mode. We will kill someone. So it hurts me to hear that a mother, especially like the sister mentioned about the religious, these people protect these people. They protect them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They protect them. They make sure that, it's okay. Give it to God. You know what I'm saying? It'll be okay. I mean, there's many stories I've heard, but go ahead, sis. I'm not going to hold y'all up, because this show right here really has touched me in a way, man, I mean, it's hard for me to even look at cases. Hold on, Riziki. It used to be hard for me to look at specific child abuse cases when I was like in my undergrad program. I couldn't even read some of these cases. They used to give us videos to actually look at and to give an assessment. I couldn't do it. It was, I had to do it, but I remember skating through it, because the trauma was so hard to hearing what these people said and just imagining if that were me. And, I'm sorry, y'all. It's a very hard show here today, but go ahead, sir.
I mean, if no one else, is it cool to do the presentation now, sis, or should we?
Yeah.
Okay. So, So again, part of my work as a tantric healer, I do work with men who have been molested as well. And like I said, this system, which is not like a Tibetan tantric system or a Hindu tantric system, this is something different from indigenous civilizations that's existed way before the word tantra was even bought up or thought of. So I'm going to share my screen, and I want to walk you through the science that we deal with when it comes to healing these negative experiences in both men and women. And also a part of the Grand Trine Tantric system, we are tasked with understanding the psychology in certain personalities that that are consistent with who we would call rapists and child molesters. So again, I had a client, even though he was not a molester per se, and I found this out later on, but he was a brother who knowingly had HIV, but was having sex with women and not telling them. So in my mind, that's just as bad as a rapist or a molester, because now you're playing with somebody's life, their livelihood. So thank you all for, joining this presentation and definitely being patient about it. Now, can you see my screen, sis?
Yes.
Okay. So, again, my presentation is, I am a tantrika. I do work with sacred sexuality, even though Tantra is not all about how to have sex, but it's also how to heal negative experiences that you've come across, and also bringing about the highest and best version of yourself. And understand that a lot of our indigenous cultures, a lot of our indigenous systems, they made us go through certain initiations and ceremonies to avoid becoming a rapist or a molester or somebody that's not a positive and productive member of society. Granted, it may have happened anyway, but at least we had these systems in place to try to prevent or circumvent these things. And as we see today, we don't have anything as a community. We're not doing anything as a community. And or if people bring about solutions, it's quick to be shunned away just because it's something you may not agree with. And we have to do way better in that. So the first thing that I want to talk about are brain dendrites. Okay, so in Grand Trine Tantra, we actually deal with science. And dendrites are segments of the neuron that receive stimulation in order for cells to become active. They conduct electrical messages to the neuron cell body for the cell to function. So in other words, in order for these neurons to become active, they must receive action potentials or stimuli, okay? Dendrites are structures on the neuron that receive electrical messages. So when somebody goes through positive or negative experiences, these dendrites are carrying messages into your neurological self, your cell body. So this is one of the reasons why and how a lot of these negative experiences become embedded into a person, okay? The neurons also, again, deals with the nervous system. So again, this is why some people are affected mentally by certain negative experiences like rape or molestation. Mentally, they may, again, exhibit patterns of behaviors to sabotage their relationships, or mentally, they receive these messages and imprints to whereas they feel it's okay to molest or rape somebody. So again, understanding in our Grand Trine Tantric system that when a person goes through certain experiences, this message, that feeling, that stimuli is being imprinted into this person's brain dendrite, okay? Now, the next thing I want to go over is the difference between excitatory and inhibitory neuron triggers. And in a nutshell, excitatory is an increase in the membrane to achieve a threshold, a positive threshold, to whereas inhibitory decreases the membrane and it makes it so a person exhibits more of a negative threshold or a negative experience. And so again, these are certain neurotransmitters that are carrying these messages in the brain, and it's equating and associating experiences that you've had in the past to the current ones that you may go through. Does that make sense so far? I want to make sure I'm not losing anybody.
Yes.
Oh yeah, good to go.
Okay. So in a nutshell, these neurons or neurotransmitters are nerve cells that process and transmit information through electrical and chemical signals. Okay. There are several types, which again, there are several types of neurons that react to senses, rather it be touch. So if it's a positive touch or a negative touch, sound, the sound of your molester's voice, and then you meet some guy who may have had the same kind of voice or deep tone. These are certain triggers that send these messages to your brain, into your dendrites, and now you're associating this positive experience with the negative one that you've been through, okay? So again, another thing that I wanna just drive home is that when we're dealing with these neurotransmitters, they are affecting the cells. And again, these cells store information, they transmit information. And this is what really excited me about our Grand Trine system, because we deal with the science of epigenetics, okay? If people aren't familiar with what epigenetics is, it's the study of changes in organisms caused by modification of gene expression rather than alteration of genetic code itself. In simplified terms, epigenetics is the study of biological mechanisms that will switch genes on and off. So when we was going through these text messages, you would hear, this has been happening in our family for years. This is a generational curse. Some of that, not all of it, some of that has to do with epigenetics. Now, when we hear that we are our ancestors, why do you think we are our ancestors? Is it just because of the spirit or the actual DNA that's flowing in your body? And what epigenetic teaches us, okay, is that everybody has the ability to turn on or off a certain and specific genetic code. Some of these genetic codes can influence certain behaviors, rather it be your psychological state, how you socially interact with people, if you are a drug abuser, if you take toxins into your body, certain behaviors such as abuse, rape, molestation. Again, and I'm going to stop here only because I want to talk about the epigenetics in my family, and I'm gonna just be real. So my great grandmother was a businesswoman. Now, at one point, I was proud of that until I heard the type of business that she had. My great grandmother had a brothel. So it was the bootlegging liquor, the running numbers, and of course, selling women. Now, in my great grandmother's case, she sold her own children in this brothel. So my great grandmother was exposed to their bodies being sold in exchange for money or whatever favors my great grandmother saw fit. So in my family, there is no presence of men, because the association that my great aunts and great grandmother have with the opposite sex is negative. Okay. Now, my grandmother, I don't know, the story is either or, was born through one of these exchanges of sexual favors or incest. The story is not clear, but it's either or. So even though that experience that my great grandmother exposed my great aunts and great grandmother to, none of them ended up being molesters. However, their associations with the opposite sex was negative. And guess what? My mother was divorced. I, just like Dr. Mayat, had a negative outlook or dysfunctional outlook on relationships overall. Now, could that have been due to my own personal experience? Absolutely. But I also understand, since I am my ancestors, some of this jacked up ass DNA is flowing in me as well. Okay. So again, there's tons of resources out there for epigenetics. Be sure to study about it. Now, the next point I want to get to more so is the human consciousness and the physical world. And I do admire Nikola Tesla, because that dude was a freaking genius and he understood energy. And one of his quotes says, "The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all previous centuries of its existence. To understand the true nature of the universe, one must think it in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." So again, when people talk about energy work ain't what it is, I just laugh, because in my mind, no, they haven't did the kind of research or experience that shows otherwise. Now, in ancient Kemet, Sister Kaba, correct me if I'm wrong, just like the ways that we, generate this energy to help heal other people is through developing our chi. And I'm not going to say it's the exact same thing, but in ancient Kemet, they had terms such as Ka or Ba that related more to the spiritual or soul self. So through my spirit, through my energy, through my soul self, I can also heal somebody else. And our ancient indigenous systems taught us how to cultivate this chi, this energy, the spirit, this soul self, in order to be able to do that. Now, just like you have a cell body, right? Like you have the neurons, all that stuff. You also have an energy body in certain layers. Now, there are 7 of them, but here I'm only showing 5. So you have the physical body, the etheric body, the emotional body, the mental body, and the spiritual body. So that's just like when you meet somebody or somebody walks into a room and you just feel what people call an aura, or their energy ain't right, or I'm not vibing with this person. They vibe is messed up. That ain't nothing but what I'm talking about, which is energy, okay? Now, again, what I want to go over this grand trine system of Tantra, because, again, we don't do Tibetan Tantra. We don't do Hindu Tantra. We do Tantra that is developed through these 4 major indigenous systems. And again, when I talk about Tantra, this is a very new word. The Nile Valley system, the Indus Valley system, the culture of Angkor Wat, and the ancient Native Americans, they been had indigenous sexual rites and programs, initiations and ceremonies that help cultivate the very thing I'm talking about way before the word Tantra actually existed. So when I say this word Tantra, please don't automatically go to the Chinese people and the Indian people. Understand I'm using this word because it's widely known. So real quick, the Nile Valley system consisted of, Ethiopia, not the nation, but the culture prior to Islamic rules, the region of Abyssinia, Nubia, Mori, and this is what we call the Nile Valley system. We also take ancient practices and systems from the Indus Valley, and this was way before, I have these 2 mixed up, but if you heard of the Dravidians of southern India, which were darker skinned, the word Tantra actually comes from this system, but understand we're speaking of the system before any kind of Aryan invasion, okay? This is what we call the Indus Valley. When we talk about the culture of Angkor Wat, this is where you would find present day Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Burma. But again, this is where the darker skinned people are, not any. These systems are that we do was at a time way before any kind of invasion. And of course, the last system is of our Native American ancestors, and we call this the Pacific Basin system. So our teacher, he definitely went through all of these systems, talking to the swamis, the shamans, and learning all of this. And because we are of African descent or of indigenous descent, this is why I chose to study this system of Tantra, because we utilize science, the Kemetic tree of life and, you know, actual indigenous systems that pertain to us. So when I talk about Tantra and how it changes behaviors. So when we deal with these molesters and these rapists in our communities, we have to think about like, well, what are these personality types? And how is it, you know, that we can prevent or circumvent these kind of behaviors and these people from happening? And the three things that we explore, and not just trying to circumvent or prevent or heal molestation and rape in our communities, but just being the highest and best version of yourself, period. So we explore the counterfeit personality, which again, are behaviors developed based on negative experiences. So just like how Sis Alicia and Sis Mayat was like, look, well, I was dealing with women because of this experience. That is a result of a counterfeit personality.
Oh, no, wait a minute. I never said I was dealing with women.
No. I meant
okay.
not you, Sister Alicia. My bad. Yeah, let's clear that up.
I'm about to say, let's clear that up right now, because you know,
Okay.
people put out rumors.
I know you strictly, sis. But okay, so my fault. So point blank period. Both Sister Alicia, Dr. Maya, and myself, and every other sister on the panel who's been, or whatever, we develop certain behaviors, actions, activities, whatever, based on these negative experiences, which we call the counterfeit personality, okay? And so a lot of these rapists or molesters, and because we're talking about molestation, they have cultivated these counterfeit personalities based on their negative experiences. And we're going to go over some of what those are in the next slide. The next thing I want to talk about, and those who have been tuning in to Tea Talk with the Sisters, you know about the houses that I've talked about. So certain faculties of man and woman that makes them positive and productive members of society have been damaged. So if these particular houses or faculties of man and or woman has been damaged, this also contributes to negative behaviors and the pain that they may inflict on someone else. The next thing is healing the toxic wound syndrome. And this is pretty much the negative association that women have with their reproductive system and with sex based on these negative experiences. So the next thing, and I'm not going to go over all of them, but when we talk about certain counterfeit personalities, so we have type S, where this person, and I'm speaking more so into these people who feel like molesting and rape is okay. Some people have developed this counterfeit personality where they believe that the nature of the opposite sex is to blame for his or her negative experiences. And sometimes it's the same sex. So this is why some people feel it's okay to inflict pain on others because it was done to them. This is something that brought about this type S counterfeit personality. The next one I want to talk about is type P. This person is about control. And this is where this person is manipulative, like Sister Alicia was talking about. Well, if you don't do this to me, or do this for me, I'm going to do this to your sisters. So it's about manipulation. It's about control. A lot of molesters and or rapists, it really doesn't even have to do with sex, like being sexually horny or something, because you could go pay for some vagina. It's about the control. It's about getting pleasure from control and manipulating somebody. That is a symptoms of these counterfeit personalities. The next kind is type M, to whereas this person consistently believes that they are the victim, and that being submissive in sex or a male-dominated or feminine-dominated role of society is weak. So in order to express their strength, they have to take advantage of somebody else. They have to make somebody else the victim, okay? And then the last type I want to get to is type O. And their main, issue is with entitlement and abandonment. So another thing is, many molesters or rapists have had some kind of emotional, psychological damage to where they feel abandoned or rejected. And in order to redeem themselves, they feel entitled to inflict pain on other people. So again, these people who are molesting people, understand, yes, this is very much something psychological, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So it's one thing to sit down on somebody's couch and talk about your problems, but if you're not healing the mental and the spiritual and the energy as well, then I cannot call it a complete healing. And that's why when Sister Alicia and I talk, I'm like, okay, that's great, sis. Your mentality is great. How is your spirit? How is your emotions? How is your aura? And another great thing that she did was she removed herself from that environment. She removed her own energy from that kind of nasty, manipulative, molester kind of energy, because who knows how she would have been if she would have stayed there. She probably would have ended up just like this same woman, defending this molester or making excuses and or participating in the sickness herself. Okay. The next thing that we do in Grand Trine Tantra. So again, in our tantric system, we explore these personalities, we heal them, we activate these houses. We also do a lot of womb work. We also are able, like I can meet somebody and tell what kind of counterfeit personality that they have. So therefore I know how to deal with them. I know how to heal them. I know how to communicate to them to whereas they're receiving the message that I need them to get. The other thing are these houses. And again, people or molesters, especially men who are, participating in that kind of activity, they have a damaged warrior house. So instead of protecting, you're hurting. A molester does not feel the need to protect. It maybe except himself, but the family, the community, this house is damaged. The healer house of the man, and this is self-explanatory, a healer is there to heal. They're not going to inflict pain. They are there to bring joy, to bring satisfaction, to bring bliss. And again, the warrior is there to protect. Those houses in man are damaged. Again, our indigenous cultures and systems understood the faculties of man and woman, and we did things. We did ceremonies, rituals, working with the energy, the spirit body, the mentality to activate these houses in a healthy state so that you don't produce a bunch of molesters and rapists. Now, when we go to the female, when she experiences these negative things, her moon energy is damaged. She doesn't feel the need to nurture. She does not welcome in a man. She does not embrace him. She repels him. Another house that's damaged is the elegant rose. So now there's a lack of confidence. There's blame. Did I do something wrong? Even though she may know she's pretty, or whatever, but like you said, becoming sexually promiscuous. So now she's using her beauty as a tool for promiscuity. And even though she's not emotionally fulfilled, it's also a damage. It's a damage to her confidence, her self-esteem, and then also the ability to receive pleasure. That is damaged. Again, a lot of women will have sex and cannot experience an orgasm. They have to mentally drift off somewhere else because they're not able to be in the moment with the man that they're with. Again, going back to the cell body and these dendrites, you're experiencing something that should be good and pleasurable, but you're escaping it because the only association you have with this act is something negative. And then again, the toxic womb syndrome. So this deals with, we understand that every man that a woman has sex with, especially the one she loses her virginity to, leaves a womb imprint. That womb imprint is either going to be positive or negative. And of course, in the instances of rape and molestation, it's negative. And so when we deal with the womb, a lot of women aren't in touch with the womb. A lot of women are non-orgasmic. A lot of women develop fibroids and infertility just because of their energy body consistently associating negative energy, negative things with their sexual organs and with their womb space. So again, in our school of Grand Trine Tantra, We understand science, we understand psychology, we also understand the energy body, the spirit, mental, emotions. We also understand psychology of these counterfeit personalities, these faculties that are supposed to be activated in man and woman, and the importance of the health of the woman's womb, because that is where she gives life, that's where she cultivates it, and that is the first place that a person is nurtured, is in the womb. And that's my little spiel.
Sis, I just wanted to, first of all, that was a wonderful presentation. Can you please put it back up?
Oh, okay.
There was one slide, I loved it, when you started talking about counterfeit personalities.
Yes. Let me bring it up. And by the way, for those who don't know, and I'll post a link later, but I am actually offering my Tantra Tier 1 class called Activating the Blueprint, and I'll post that link later. But like when we talk about healing, sis, this is why I'm saying like this Tantra not only just it promotes community, because within this system, we also learn how to trust each other. Why? Because we're healing each other. And when we healing each other, we're creating strong bonds that cannot be broken. And now also we feel obligated and committed to ourselves to do good, because we understand our individual well-being is very important to the success of the whole. So go ahead, sis.
Yeah, and I remember when you and I were talking offline, you were saying to me that there was a female who had been violated. And, you know, you were working with her and you said something to the effect that, or was it you telling me this? But I remember you said that a male actually apologized.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yes. So I'm gonna say this. Yeah, there's a client, I did her star chart or whatever. And, you know, I'm able to tell when people are keeping secrets. So the first thing was, you know, she admitted her father was the one who molested her. And she did not, you know, the family, just like Sister Alicia, was quiet. They didn't say anything, you know, whatever. And I'm like, yo, F that. You go to him, you tell him how you feel and how this has, you know, affected you. And I have the Facebook message. I didn't post it on here, but she was like, sis, oh my God, I feel so free. Thank you. I confronted him and he actually admitted he was wrong. He actually admitted that he don't know where his mind was mentally. He was jacked up and he feels guilt from it. So there are some instances where these molesters can realize the wrong that they've done. It may come way later in life, but it can happen. Now, what you're talking about is yes. Again, there's a sister, even myself, well, not her story, but there's a sister, like I said, she's been raped and molested since she was 2 years old. And then when she went into the military, she was gang raped. Okay. And in my tantric circle, both men and women, we apologize to each other for what other people have done. No matter if it's just the point of hearing that apology and feeling the sincerity from the sex that did you this wrong. So when the sister's on the table, you know, and she's going back into this memory and she's remembering and she's crying, and the brother said, I'm sorry, forgive me, I love you, and some other stuff. And I mean, like, I've seen people cry, throw up, spit up. I mean, stuff is coming out of their vagina, you know, just exercising, you will, or bringing out all of this trauma that's been locked in their body, in their brain, in their cells, and in their aura. Like, this stuff is real. And like you can only be there to really see it. And that's why I created my blog, you know, Tales of the Tantrics. There has been times where I was on the table and a woman, and she's the elder of our group. We call her mama. Like she can channel spirits. And every time I get on the table, she has to leave because my ancestors come to her. And there was a consistent time where she said, and this is before she knew my story. She said, you know what? There's a bunch of women who keep coming to me and they're very sad. They're crying. And they just keep saying, you know, keep doing it. And it's like me being on that table, I'm healing for them. You see what I'm saying? I'm healing my generational curse. And when my mother got down here, I put her on the table and let somebody else work on her. And it was the same thing that happened. She started crying. ancestors started coming. And so it's us healing these generational lines. And so again, when we're repelling these systems because of a name, you're actually repelling the solutions our ancestors brought forth, but understand that other cultures just took it and flipped it into their own. So that's that.
Yeah, and you know, goodness, Sister Razika, you said so much, sis, and I kind of lost my train of thought. I know that I wanted you to put up the counterfeit personalities because when I hear these stories, like when sisters come to me and they tell me the way they were raped or the way they were molested, I see these personalities. I see the entitlement and abandon, the whole, well, someone did it to me, so I'll do it to you. I hear the control, like with Alicia, we heard the control in her story when she said that the guy said, well, if you don't do this, then I'm going to do that. So it's like in these stories, it was kind of crazy to me. It was mind blowing that when you put up the slide and you said, well, these are the personalities. In my mind, I can hear countless stories of women who told me how they were raped or how they were molested. And I hear the personalities of the victimizers, in their stories, the split personality, the split persona, the control, the passive aggressive, the entitlement and the bandit. So I just wanted you to put that up one more time, just so that we can emphasize that these are some of the characteristics or attributes of the victimizers. Yeah. I also wanted to add this to the dialogue that people don't understand. I don't think the victimizers understand that when you victimize an individual, you're not just victimizing that individual. You're also you're not just affecting that individual. You are affecting their loved ones, potentially their children, their relationships. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's a generational thing. Yeah.
But they don't care. They don't care. Yeah.
So I don't want them to think it's kind of like people think, oh, it just happened to Alicia, for example. Oh, that was an isolated incident. It just happened to her. No, when she was sexually violated, it didn't just happen to Sister Alicia. It happened to her. It happened to her husband, whatever mate that she's going to get with. It happened to her children. And I'm not saying that they are all sexually violated, but the effects of that are felt by her partners, are felt by her children. And I'm gonna share this. In my family, that took place. My grandfather was a child. He was a child molester. And I'm not going to put out names of aunties and uncles that he violated. But what I will say is, you kind of see how they were emotionally detached from our generation. And then when we had the conversation, they admitted granddaddy touched us. And that's why some of them were kind of like emotionalist people. And so his actions, the actions of our grandfather, not only affected them, it affected us, the grandchildren. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't think that the victimizers understand that you're not just impacting that person, you're impacting them, their loved ones, their children, generations to come. I just see, with that, I think that Raziki, I really believe wholeheartedly, man. That's why it was important, man. That's why the ancestors established the rites of passages that we had in Africa. The rites of passage, gave you a code of conduct, how to conduct yourself as a man, how to conduct yourself as a woman, the do's and the don'ts. And they also had model relationships. So, okay, now I have my mom and my dad in the house, so I see how this thing is supposed to work. And they also had a system of accountability. And I feel like that's what we're lacking in our community, a system of accountability.
Right.
How do you hold people who violate folks accountable? Like, even in my own personal situation, and I'm not going to bring up the young brother's name, but you know what I'm talking about. He put out erroneous information about me, slandered me. You get what I'm saying? To the community. So then a lot of brothers, so what I did was I first went to different folks. I'm like, look, tell young brother to back off. You get what I'm saying? He didn't listen to these folks. They kept coming to him. Man, you need to stop with the slander. You need to stop with the disfaming. You need to stop putting out erroneous information on the sister.
Yeah.
He didn't do it.
Yeah.
So then it was like, okay, what do you do? If you're not in the street anymore, do you go send some goons to whip his ass? Or
Mm-hmm.
do you go to a system that has something in place to deal with such a behavior? And
That's
so
right.
I chose the latter. And I use that example just to say this, that we as a community don't have a system in place to deal with this.
That's right.
Where's our system? Where are our rewards and punishment systems to deal with behavior like this?
Right.
We don't have.
And I also,
and so we give it a pass, sis.
yeah.
That's what I noticed that we just sweep it under the rug. Or like the sister Alicia said in her message, or I think she said in one of her text messages, like we just give it to God. Oh, God will deal with, with the situation. And what that does is remove the onus from us dealing with the situation.
That's right.
And so we need a system in place to deal with, violations. When people violate men, when people violate women, as a Black community, we need to have our own system.
But not only that, a method like, because I believe in being proactive versus reactive, right? And like, for instance, perfect example, when you said, we need systems in place. Well, there's something going on with the faculties in our men for them not to feel obligated to create this in the first daggone place. If you know that, the abuse of women and children are going on in your community, how come these men don't feel compelled on their own without us even having to say something to create, a system, men and women, vice versa. But I speak more to the men because they're the muscle, that house of warrior, protector, that house of healer. You know what I'm saying? Those are the things that have to be activated. And so again, in our system, that's why, we understand, when you heal a community, you can then actually start to make one, because you can't try to build a community when you have opposite sex not liking each other or distrust with each other or having negative associations with each other. And like I said, the brother who, was my client, but I had to drop him after I realized he was having sex with women, knowingly he had HIV. I was like, okay, so you have that type M personality because you feel that the white man created HIV and then it's really not real in the first place. You think it's okay to not tell women this quote unquote disease that you have. So this is the type of sickness. And everybody has a counterfeit personality. I don't care what, even I had one. You know what I'm saying? Until I started going through these certain exercises, rituals, energy work that has helped me activate certain houses and shed these negative experiences that brought up that counterfeit personality in the first place. So now when I deal with relationships, even knowing my past sexual trauma, I'm not sabotaging no more. When the things that used to trigger me that a man would say or do doesn't trigger me anymore. You see what I'm saying? So it takes work, man. And like I said, just I hope one day we could also do just like a show about the people who are doing this work and how it's transformed them. And like I said, I've seen it. There's been times where a sister was on a table and I heard her experience. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. We're energy first. A sister's on a table and I heard the way she was screaming and shouting and crying during her actual negative experience. This is the kind of connection we had as a people. So now I feel obligated to help heal my sister. Now I feel obligated to help heal my brother, which is why I mainly work with these brothers who have been molested or have experienced abandonment and rejection, because I know what kind of activity and behavior that can turn to.
That's right. That's right. And next week, we're going to have a powerful, powerful show.
Yes.
We're going to bring on, are we bringing on a brother next week, or are we bringing on a sister?
Brother, he has been molested himself, and he does work in the UK. And we'll have to start our show a little later because of the time difference. But I've been working with him too, and he does work in the UK. He has a project out called now Man in the Mirror, and his movement is about opening dialogue in the Black community and in the British Black community, as he would call it. And even over here, because he comes to Atlanta trying to do these talks. But again, like, where is the interest to talk about this thing? Because it happens and it has to stop. It's sick, man. It's sick.
Hey, Riziki, can you hear me, sis?
Yes, sis.
Hey sis, I was on mute the whole time, kept trying to say something. That's crazy. But yeah, you had already covered it at the end when you said, because I was about to say our brothers have been broken in too. I mean, we got to remember back, remember what has happened to them. That slave master and just go in and rape and violate that sister. They raped and violated that man.
Yes.
Castrated him as well. So we have this psychological situation mentally that our people do not want to speak on it, because our brothers, in their mad masculinity is not going to allow them to say, oh, well, I've had sex, because of the whole stigma of, if you slept with a man or if you've been violated in that way, all of a sudden, some kind of way you're gay, quote unquote gay. So brothers aren't, so they're not, they're not appeased to just come out and just say, I've been molested. So we're going to have to gradually, get ourselves to a place where we're open and have open and honest dialogue about it, because our children need this. They need this so that they can know, the signs. Yeah. So go ahead, sis. I was on mute, y'all.
Yeah, Sister Cobb, I put everybody on mute. I put everybody on mute during Raziki.
Oh no.
Yeah, during Raziki's presentation, I threw everybody on mute so that we wouldn't disrupt her.
Well, I'm glad y'all enjoyed it, because I'm like,
can I piggyback off Kava for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Another thing that's not talked about often is female assaulters.
That's right.
Who prey on little boys, because I know a lot of brothers who at a young age, maybe an auntie or a babysitter, and she molested him. We don't talk about that a lot either.
Yeah, sister, you're right.
I'm just curious if Sister Raziki has worked with any brothers that have dealt with that.
You see that in that movie. What's the name of that movie that Denzel Washington? What's the guy did? He was in the army. Remember, he was young. Antoine Fisher. Yes, sister.
Yeah.
That's right.
Actually, yes, I have. And again, when I was talking about the houses of woman, so if there's a woman who's doing the dirt, her moon energy of nurturing is damaged, because again, as a nurturer, you're not trying to harm nobody. And also like her elegant rose aspect. So yeah, you want to give pleasure, but not in a sickening way as far as that. So yes, the men who get on my table, I have heard where, their first encounter of oral sex was with a woman at like 6, 7 years old, somebody who was babysitting them. There's someone really close in my family, and I'm not going to tell his business, but it was a babysitter who took his virginity, and he was like 7 or 8 years old. So yeah, the men who's on my table are both men and molested from both men and women. And what it does now, well, especially from being molested by men, there's so much that goes on. So now he's questioning his masculinity and his sexuality, even though he knows deep down he likes women. But the question is, well, did I attract this? Like, what about me said to this man that I was interested in a man? And then when it's a woman who's molesting a man, now you will try to take advantage of a woman first before she tries to take advantage of you. It's like who's going to win first in being in control or taking advantage? And again, and
that sister who actually goes and does this to a young man.
And see too, what happens is that these women who do that, again, their counterfeit personalities are just as bad as these men. And their idea is, because they want to receive pleasure without being expected to give it in return. Now, and it's normally, like I said, these women who are making these young boys perform on them, or even if, they're performing on these young boys, it's a sickness. Like in their mind, they're like, oh, well, I'm teaching him something, or this is a special bond that I have that, I can't have with any other man. It's psychological and it's sick. And that's why, like I always say, when people get into these relationships, just like when you go to the doctor's office and one of the first questions they ask you is your family history,
that's right.
The same damn thing with epigenetics and this sexual abuse and this mental and psychological screw up that we have going on in our generation.
Mental illness. Yeah, it's a mental illness.
That's right. And I think last week we spoke on that, Sister Raziki, just saying that when you get involved in a relationship with somebody, Ask questions. What was your childhood like? You get what I'm saying? Because we have to understand how a psychology is developed. Your psychology is developed by your history and your experiences. That develops your psychology. So before you, I'm not even gonna say when you get in a relationship with someone, before you get into a relationship with someone, find out their history. You know, what was your childhood like? Do you have a good relationship with your mom? Do you have a good relationship with your dad? Did you grow up in a 2-parent household? Did you grow up in a single-parent household? What are your views on child rearing? Those are the things that we need to talk about prior to forming relationships with individuals. There was a situation in Baltimore years ago. You guys can Google it. There was a little girl, beautiful, chocolate little thing. Her name is Marciana Ringo. She was murdered by her mother's boyfriend. And what happened was the mother, and I went to the wake, and I'm not going to lie, sisters, and I probably shouldn't say this on YouTube, but I wanted to smack the piss out the mother when I saw her at the daggone wake. She was crying, and I did hug her and all of that, but I wanted to I just wanted to smack her. But what happened was she was involved with a guy who had some psychological issues. I think he something happened with a girlfriend, and he aborted his baby, and he never, got over it. And anyway, he got into a relationship with her. He ended up impregnating her, and she wasn't ready to have another child. So he murdered. So she got an abortion. He couldn't get over the second abortion, right? That, now it's like it happened again. So he ended up killing her daughter. He said, well, she killed my child in her womb, so I'm going to kill the daughter. So we have to understand the psychology of the people that we get involved with.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying? People jump in these relationships. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? And, we got to, goodness gracious.
And Sister Dr. and even with asking them, that's a great way to do things, because when you ask them, you're going to get a reaction. And so observation then comes into play, because then we have to observe, because people aren't going to be honest all the time. A lot of people feel or believe that they're, this is something they feel they have to have shame about. So to get them to actually be honest about things that have happened to them, it's going to be very hard. It's just as hard as the sister or the brother who was molested their entire life, and and then they're not until their 30s or 40s before they even tell you what had happened to them. So people aren't privy, they're not going to give you that information just that easy. So we have to observe these people and their reactions to things, you know what I'm saying? And then formulate a definitive conclusion based off what it is we're observing. And their behavior.
You hit it on the head, on the head, Sister Kaba. The whole shame part.
Yes.
I think that's the biggest hindrance as to why we are quiet, and then also the ignorance of the environment that we're in, because especially like somebody put in the comments, when men hear another man talking about being molested by a woman, they high five like, oh, bro, what you tripping on? Like, that's good. And I'm like, did you not just hear the word he said? He said molested. So therefore, he has a negative feeling, a negative association with what happened. And a lot of these men, because they want to be all macho, they feel like, oh, bro, brush it off, stuff like that. And that's why I'm like, yo, we as women, and it works both ways. We have to learn how to heal our men, and men got to learn how to participate in our healing as well. And this is what builds community. Like, I feel like all couples, and till the day I die, and until there's something else that shows me different, everybody and their mama, I don't care if you call it Tantra or whatever other indigenous name you want to call it, that deals with men healing women and healing men with the mental, spiritual, emotional, whatever you want to call it. We really need to stop playing and get on that, because another thing that this promotes is economics. And even though I know this isn't that show, but you got to understand the amount of community and trust and loyalty and commitment and togetherness and cohesiveness that comes about when we contribute to each other's healing.
Go ahead, Raziki. Go in, sis. Right, sis. Teach, sis. I see the sisters back. I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat, Dr. Mahad.
Come on, call them out, sister. Call them out, Sister Kaba. Run them down, because I know we got brothers.
Call them out. Let me see if I can call them out. We want to give a shout out to our brother Sean P, who's always in the building. Sean P. We want to give a shout out to my brother Carl Tone Jones, who has PAC. Everybody got a hey, Carl Charles Jones. Put your link in the description so the people family can find you and see all the things that you offer. We want to give a shout out to the Hootie's Learning Center. That's the brother Dwayne Taylor. We want to give a shout out to Jehudi Ma'at, MBK all day. Mac Tip, my brother Mac Tip. Keep going in, Dr. Ma'at, because I can't. That's the only ones I see right now. There probably many more. My brother Aku. Brother Haru Asar, peace to you, King. Peace. Peace to all the sisters in the chat. Peace to y'all. Okay, peace. Hello? Peace. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry
about that. Okay.
Yeah, I don't see anybody else. I can't go up that far, but those are the peace to the sister Anisha Green. Peace to you, Queen. Peace to that sister. I know they had more sisters in the chat.
Yeah, there were a lot of sisters in the chat today. Let me see.
I don't see any others right now.
Yep, Anisha Tip. I mean, yeah, I think her name was Anisha Green. Who else did we have? We had someone named Sister Lessa Darcy.
Okay, okay, that's a sister. Okay, peace to the sister.
Sister Leslie Darcy.
Adina April, peace to you. Peace to brother Calvin McDougal. Peace to you, my brother. Alchemist Life Coach, we're here. Thank you, brother, for all your great input. Peace to everybody in the chat. We love y'all. Yep.
Definitely. And today, like you said, it was just an emotional show.
Yeah.
And Brother Jehudi said, he said, salute. He said that each week the shows get better and better. So, I appreciate that compliment, King.
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate that. Oh man, we lost a sister.
I know.
Sister, Alicia. I wanted to shout her out and just let her know that we love her. Yes. Let her know that we support her, and that we are here to assist her in her healing. Because like Sister Raziki said, we need to heal each other. Sisters need to heal sisters, but sisters also need to heal brothers. And brothers should heal brothers, but brothers also need to heal sisters. And like Sister Raziki said, well, we can heal each other. We're building bonds, and then we can begin to trust each other. And look at what could spawn out of trusting each other. Black people don't trust each other anymore, and that's a fact. Why do you think people say, oh, I'd rather go pay my money to the Chinese man, the Jew man, and the Arab man before I go to my brother? Because you don't even trust your brother. And then there's no loyalty to your brother. And so healing and building a bond with each other will allow us to trust each other again, and then to be loyal and faithful to one another. I remember reading in the book, it's on page 255. Sister Kaba, where's your book right now? Where's your Destruction of the Black Civilization? Anybody has it handy?
Yeah, I'm gonna get it. It's not even a big thing. We gonna get that destruction of Black civilization.
Yeah, turn to page 255, sis. You see, I memorized the number, right?
Yeah, I got you, sis. I'm in now.
Please turn to page 255 and read what the Portuguese enslavers said about the loyalty and love that Black men and Black women once had for each other. Please read that passage.
Okay, where's that passage at? Let's see. Where we at? I'm on 255.
It's on page 255 towards the end. And the Portuguese enslaver says that it wasn't true that they had to march women in chains.
Okay. Is that the last passage or the one right before?
I think it's the last passage. He said it wasn't true that they had to march the Black men in chains. He said because they were so loyal to the Black man.
I'll read it. It is not true that all women and even children were likewise marched in chains. This would have been unnecessary anyway, because we had learned that these Black women are so loyal to their men that they will follow them even into hell, wherever the hell that is.
Come on.
Yes, capture their men, and you did not have to capture them. Wow. Powerful, Dr. Ma'at.
Come on.
Yet many of these same women would seek death directly by attacking us and our armed guards. These, of course, were beaten and chained the same as male slaves. Thank you, Dr. Ma'at. Did you want me to continue on reading?
No, that was it.
That
was
is powerful. Let me read that again, family. We're going to do that
Read
one more time.
one more
Read
time.
it
Go
again.
ahead.
Read it one more time, Sister Kaba.
All right, family. It is not true that all women and even children were likewise marched in chains. This would have been unnecessary anyway, because we had learned that these black women are so loyal to their men that they would follow them even into hell. Capture their men and you did not have to capture them. Yet many of these same women would seek death directly by attacking us and our armed guards. These, of course, were beaten and chained the same as male slaves. Wow. Powerful.
That's powerful.
So it was kind of like, when I read that passage, Sister Kaba, I was just blown away. I was blown away at the fact that, when you're watching these movies on enslavement, they always marching everyone in chains. But then we learn in reality that the Portuguese understood. I got you, Sister Razika. We wrapping it up, sis. The Portuguese understood that. I got you. The Portuguese understood that they looked, and like you said, Sister Kaba, they had to observe, and upon their and based on their observation, they saw that black women were loyal to black men. They saw that we were loyal, so they didn't have to chain us. And before we go, let me share my screen real fast. All praises to this ancestor, Brother Ben, Brother Black Panther. On Saturday,
that's my brother.
Brother Black Panther is going to, let me know if you see my screen, ladies. Do you see my screen?
Okay, yes, yeah.
This is one of my favorite scholars, Dr. Amos Wilson. And Brother Black Panther and I were talking on the telephone, and he said, look, Dr. Mayad, I don't think that Dr. Amos Wilson gets his just due. We talk about Dr. Ben and Dr. John Henry Clark, and we talk about Jope, Sheik anti-Jope. And I got to do Jope. It's not Diop, it's Jope. Thank you so much, Sister Alima. But we talk about them, but you never talk about Dr. Amos Wilson. If you go, anybody who is my friend on Facebook know that I post videos of Dr. Amos Wilson. I take quotes from Dr. Amos Wilson, and I try to make people aware of this great mind that existed in the 20th century. In fact, I believe that Dr. Frances Cress Welsing said that he was one of the greatest minds she's ever encountered. But anyway, in one of his speeches, he was talking about, I think it's the speech on line, it's called Black Relationships or something like that. Black Love, Black Relationships. It's on YouTube. He said this, he said, when you want to destroy a community, when you want to destroy a people, you destroy the nature of their romantic love. He said, destroy their ability to love one another in a healthy sort of way. When you see and think about the problems we have as a people and as individuals and loving each other romantically, you must recognize in good part that those problems have been set up by a political social system. The love we have for one another is the greatest threat to the people who rule over us. So with that said, family, we have to get back to loving each other. And in order to love each other, we have to heal
each other.
We have to heal. We have to heal. Like you said, we have to heal one another in order to get that love and devotion and that loyalty that we once had. We have to get back to healing each other and loving each other. And like Dr. Amos Wilson said, the love that we have for one another is the greatest threat to anyone who will want to rule over us. And pedophilia and child molestation, those are things that would inhibit us from loving each other in a healthy sort of way.
Yeah.
Because again, when you touch a child, boy or girl, you're affecting how that child will deal with the opposite sex.
I have a poem about this in my book.
Come on,
Do
show
we have
the book.
time? Y'all wanna hear it?
We want to hear your poems.
And I'm gonna share my class page too. That's right.
All right, come on, because we're getting ready to wrap it up, and I want all of the sisters to tell everyone where we can find you and what you're involved in. So go ahead, sister.
Okay, well, I'm
Alima.
gonna do mine while I'm reading it. Peace and love, family. Alima Njai. My book, Perceptions of a Misplaced African, Volume 1, is available on Amazon. You can get it in an ebook on Kindle, or you can get the hard copy. You can also order from me It's a poetry novel. And since we were talking about molestation and stuff today, I really wanted to share one of my poems, and it's called Tears on My Pillow. So let me sit down. Okay. Okay. I can't get it back because it's priceless, a rare diamond of sorts. Courts convict for such offenses, but who really can discern the pleas of the weary? This God that they speak of has surely forgotten me, and the feeling is mutual. The fury I feel when I think of it, picture a woman scorned yet worse. And I feel so cursed because that innocent that separated me from most is now gone, stolen by a thief in the night who cared not of the pain he would inflict on my life. The severity of it all seems invisible to this savage who pillages the unforbidden of so many. A collector of misery he is. Oh, how he basks in the ambience of his repugnant actions. The sickest of scum. They tend to blend in, going unnoticed to the average eye, often cognates by blood. And since we are taught that family is everything, how do I bring to light this touchy topic, which ultimately will be catastrophic to everyone? It's like a gun to your temple, and you must quickly choose to use your mental to determine to run or to face the music. That sad melody, that dampens spirits and reopens wounds. Those dreadful tunes, still I know I must muster the courage to speak up. It's now or never. But then it hit me. What if they reject me, discard and forget me? Whom then will protect me? Day by day, week by week, month by month. The voice begins to internalize until it is mute. Her silence they can't compute, and her distance they don't comprehend. No more hanging out with friends, enjoying life, riding passenger, hair blowing in the wind. Depression has set in. Yet she is not alone in her struggle. Countless other women, children, young men have been victims of these villains of purity, undercover leeches of our community. But we give them impunity, a sense of immunity when we remain silent. So I say, young brother or sister, shout it out and make the world listen. Force fear to let go of your hand and walk shoulder to shoulder with courage. Release this weight from around your neck and allow it to fall into the unknown depths of the ocean. No longer a burden, free like the accidental release of the animals from the zoo. And you, yes, you are now free, like that once caged bird who now soars amongst the clouds, that sweet feeling. Now she begins to live again, so effervescent, yet slightly guarded as she should be. And that smile she once wore is back again, perhaps crooked, but it's a start. So work with her. In due time, it'll get bigger and shine brighter. Your only competition will be the sun. So rest well, knowing the battle waged against many and lost by plenty, you have won. Perceptions of a Misplaced African, available on Amazon, Volume 1. Peace and love, family.
Ashe.
Hold on, we got to do the.
Oh, yeah.
Ashe. Go ahead, Sister Riziki, Sister Kaba. Let us know where we can find you and what you have going on.
Absolutely. Let me share my screen real quick for those who are interested. Y'all can see my page?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is the brother. I love this dude, Yao Morris, and he's the brother who studied with all of these indigenous systems and learned, you know, certain ceremonies, rituals, practices, and constructed it in this system we call Grand Trine. And so this is my class. It's called Awakening the Blueprint. It does start in June. It's available for online students and local students. And just real quick, the Grand Trine system is a program of life enhancement seeking to improve relationships, health, psychological, and sexual aspects of life. It's based in part of shamanistic tantra. It is an active form, and it's based on a series of special life sciences of natural and indigenous origin. And again, you can read more about it on this page, but there are a total of 3 tiers to this program. I completed all 3 in just a year. It's not just educational, but also transformational. About 50% of the class is learning, and the other 50% is actually doing. We get together on retreats, you know, where we work on each other, we testify, we share our stories, we heal our birth stories. And again, my Awakening the Blueprint Tier 1 definitely includes what I talked about before, how to identify and heal the counterfeit personality, just not within yourself, but in the others you come across with. We activate the houses of man and woman. We learn about genital reflexology, and this has been very, very monumental in healing people who've been through sexual abuse, molestation, so forth and so on. It's really about getting back to that positive association. We deal with table work, and we also delve more so that people can understand the real version of what modern people today call tantra, energy work, going through your second puberty. If your first experience of puberty was not positive, we have rituals and ceremonies to go through that. We heal the negative wound imprints, the energy body, and we also deal with the 5 major organs of the body as well. So again, there are 3 tiers. And for those that did not hear before, but the books that are called Awakening the Master Masculine and Awakening the Master Feminine, I definitely encourage you all to get those books. You know, it was very so this definitely helped me understand more about myself, the faculties I need to bring online, and how to identify a person who is healing me or, you know, causing me harm. And this book allowed me to understand better how to help heal our men, what faculties they need to be bought online, and how to identify negative characteristics and traits of these men that need to be healed. So that's my spill.
Fantastic. Sister Kaba. Sister Kaba.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Sorry about that, family. Y'all got me. I apologize. Don't kill me, sis.
Go ahead, sis. I said go ahead and tell the brothers and sisters where they can find you.
Oh, well, y'all can find me on Facebook. That's Facebook, misshgraham.com. That's at Facebook. You can also find me at Kaba Nepti Ankh on Twitter and on Instagram. Sisters, and y'all can always find me here with the circle of sisters, with the social support, emotional support, all those different support systems that these sisters offer. This has been absolutely wonderful. If people can't come in here and feel the love here and the support here, especially the social support, because there's so much. Sister Ezekiel, I appreciate that presentation. That was absolutely awesome, sis.
Thank you, sis.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Okay. Well, let me share my screen. I won't be long.
We're going to let Sister Alicia close out as well later.
Yeah, I was going to close.
And the sister Alima. Oh my goodness, that poem. Oh my goodness, I was just pulling up the link to send out to a couple of people so they can get that book. Especially, man, that right there. Oh man, that was powerful. There's people that can really enlighten. That is absolutely wonderful, sis.
Thank you, sister. Thank you so much.
Let me show them. So this is my company, a company I co-founded with my family. It's called Ed Anime Productions. Ed Anime is short for educational animation. And what we specialize in is producing educational films for children. And we hope to bring, right now we have a series, a historical series called Meltrek. And the objective of this series is to teach children history from an African perspective. So of course they're going to learn about facts, people, places, events, and things that have been omitted from social studies textbooks or distorted in social studies textbooks. Right now we have Meltrek episode 1 available for purchase. Actually, both of them are, we have episode 1 and episode 2. They're both available for purchase. Episode 2 right now, and I'm doing some revisions and adding some things to it. So we hope to get it to the manufacturer by tomorrow. So after I get off of this hangout, I have like maybe a good 8 hours in front of me, 8 hours of work in front of me. So we're trying to push to send this out before the end of Black History Month. But again, I tell people that we celebrate Black History every day. It's not just a month. You know, you can purchase Meltrek from edanimeproductions.com. Meltrek episode 1, the objective there is to teach children that the history of people of African descent does not begin with slavery. Episode 2 teaches children about the indigenous cultures in the Americas and also teaches children about the African presence in the Americas prior to Christopher Columbus, because we were here prior to the African diaspora. Now, in Meltrek episode 2, are we saying that we were the Olmecs, Mayans, and Aztecs and Incas? Absolutely not. But what we are saying is that there was an African presence here in the America, and it was here long before there was even a Christopher Columbus. So anyway, visit edanimeproductions.com to secure your copy of Meltrek episode 1 and 2. We also have, coloring books, posters, backpacks, and t-shirts, hats available. If you go to the site, we also have unit plans available. As a matter of fact, let me go here. I'm sorry. We actually have unit plans available for parents to download because Meltrek is only about episode 2 will be about 27 minutes. But episode 1 is like 22 minutes, and we disseminate a lot of information at a high rate, and so at a fast pace. And so we wanted to think of ways that we could inculcate or ingrain the information in the minds of the children. So what we did was develop unit plans that parents can download from our site, which consist of lesson plans and a Meltrek student learning packet. So if you really want your children to understand African American history, or African history, as I would like to say, please visit edanimeproductions.com, click on the tab Meltrek, and go to unit plans and download these unit plans. Also, once you grab the film, be sure to grab the coloring book, which also helps to ingrain the information in the minds of the children. So, Sister Alicia, would you like to say anything, sis, before we close out? The floor is yours.
Yes, I would. I just want to really thank y'all, because it's to have you guys reach out to me in the way that you have, and to be given the opportunity to do something that I think is very important when it comes to subjects such as these, which is not blaming yourself and holding people accountable and moving forward and healing and trying to prevent it from happening again. Y'all have assisted me in helping me to break the cycle, and it's so appreciated and respected, and I love y'all for that. I'm grateful for you guys reaching out to me and showing me that sisterhood and giving me the opportunity to speak my truth and to stop what's been happening. You all are assisting in that.
Thank you. We love you too, sis. Big hug. Oh, I just want to hug you so much. Big hugs, sis. I can't wait to see you for real. Yeah, I don't want to keep going, but yeah, we was all emotional. I was about to punch something. You know what I'm saying?
My phone might die again.
No, but Sister Alicia, if you can, weekly, if you can, join in, sis. I mean,
Yes, yeah.
Your story is important.
During the week, but when I can, I definitely will.
Okay, sweetheart. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You know what she just said that just spoke volumes to me, sisters? She said she appreciated the sisterhood. You know what I'm saying? That's what's really lacking. I mean, Sister Alima and I, we build offline all the time about this. She said, I appreciated the sisterhood, being able to congregate with sisters, talk about issues, vent, get it out, get some emotional support from sisters who says, yes, I had the same experience as you. I know what it feels like to be sexually assaulted. Yes, I was raped, or yes, someone touched me too. And yes, it affected me in this way. And this is how we need to come out of it. That's important for sisters to have. And that was the whole premise for starting these tea talks. And I just appreciate, just hearing those words, because she's making me feel like mission accomplished. Not saying that we don't have more work to do, but she's making me feel like she's just validating, what we all been talking about online. And that's building a sisterhood for women, where women have voice, where women can share their hurt and their pains, and not even just hurt and pains, share happy moments, things that we're doing in the community, come together and help each other. That's really missing in the community. And so, Sister Alicia, we appreciate you, my sister, for being bold and courageous, and sharing your story. That took a lot of courage to stand up and say, yeah, I've been, molested. It took me years. I think I didn't admit it. I talked to my mother about it when I was 17, but I didn't openly share it with people until I got maybe my 30s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and it feels good to just get it out,
Mhm.
you know, and it's the first step to healing, you know, just admitting that, you know, you have this issue or you've had this negative experience, as Sister Riziki would say, you know, just speaking about it is also therapeutic in a form of healing. So with that said, Sister Riziki, I'm looking forward to the show next week where we can hear about child molestation from a male's perspective.
Yes, this brother, and I, you know, Oleg Boyega Odekunle, you know, I gotta brush up on my pronunciation, but yeah, he, like I said, does a lot of work in the UK, and he's messing me now. Am I good for next Wednesday? Yes, you are, and he's really looking forward to it. I think it's definitely going to help the men understand why you all need to be more supportive when men admit these sorts of things, and be mindful of how you react in the things that you say, because you're encouraging a man to suppress that. You're sending him back into a community where he's going to be somebody's father or husband or boyfriend, and he all jacked up. You know what I'm saying? So it takes both of us to help heal. So I definitely hope that the brothers especially tune into this, and women as well, because many of us may be dating some men who went through this and they haven't expressed it themselves.
That's right.
So
That's
definitely
right.
too. Yeah.
And Sister Alicia, one more thing, Sister Alicia, we want you to know that the days of the elder woman or the woman who's around you who doesn't believe you and tell you that this was something that occurred in your life because you had to go through it as a child, that those days are over, because we're not going to be here to say, oh, well, you know, it's something you did wrong. You did nothing wrong.
That's
you know,
right.
You see what I'm saying? So your victimizer did all of the wrong, and it's more than likely the case because he himself experienced those same things. So I just want to let you know that, sister, those days are over with. We're here, we're listening, we're dealing with it.
Oh, that was powerful, Sister Kyla. I was getting ready to cry. Sister
Don't
Kyla
cry,
says,
Sister Doctor.
I'm telling you, man, that was powerful what you just said, that those days are over.
Over.
You know what I mean?
Over.
Those days are over.
We putting a framework together, Dr. Ma'at.
You know what I'm saying? Sister Kava be gangster. She got the hair right popping. Like, look. You know what I'm saying? If I need a goon, I'm calling Sister Kava. She ain't
that's my rider. That's my rider, Sister
I'm riding with y'all. I'm riding, baby. Yes.
That's my rider. And like she said, those days are over. We are here.
We are here.
We are here. And the sisterhood is not, you know, we're not tolerating that, man. We're calling you out. You know, as soon as Sister Alicia gave me the picture of her victimizers, I put them on my Facebook page. Didn't I, Sister Riziki?
Yeah, give it to me. I'm about to put him out there too. Give him to me. You know what I'm saying? We just bringing awareness to a situation that a lot of people are afraid to speak about because of the embarrassment. Same thing we were talking about, Sister Riziki. I mean, they're ashamed. They think they did something wrong. You know what I'm saying? You know, they think that the little girl I was telling y'all about, not to, you know, prolong this, but the little girl, when the phone went out on me, that little girl thought that she was the reason. Kept coming in her room every Monday and raping her. She thought it was her fault. And then when she tried to when my cousin rescued her and tried to place her into a different situation, she couldn't even, you know, this situation didn't resonate with her. She had nightmares. She thought every time a door opened, she was spooked. She was traumatized. So this is important, sis. We here. Yeah, that's over with. We putting together a framework for people to understand that it's not their fault. You know what I'm saying? We giving this thing back to those victimizers.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
That's right. So, all right. I look at Sister Riziki. She like, wrap it up.
No,
so,
I'm just like, Sean P, I'm coming to get you, son. You get on my table, B. You keep talking about you ain't with me, Contra. No, Sean P. And when you come to Atlanta, sis, you gonna get on the table.
Oh, I'm getting on the table. You know, I have no problems with that.
Everybody get on the table. Sean P, I'm coming for you, bro, because you keep yapping. You know you slick want to be on my table, so it's cool. I got you.
All right, y'all. I'm getting ready to end the broadcast. Sister, does any other sisters have any last words? I'm through.
I'm done.
No, that's it.
Ashe.
Peace, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. See y'all next week.
Family.
Peace.